Kyle Busch won Saturday night's Sprint Cup race in Texas, but the real winners may have been the fans who got to see Brad Keselowski, the current Sprint Cup champion, pretty much go off on NASCAR. Keselowski and teammate Joey Logano failed pre-race inspection because of some rear housings that were confiscated by NASCAR. Keselowski was so upset after the race that he told the press, "The things I've seen over the last 7 days have me questioning everything I believe in, and I'm not happy about it." Everything you believe in might be a little dramatic for the Sprint Cup champion, but he was still very, very upset. And it looks like he's going to be facing some pretty stiff penalties from NASCAR because of failing the post-race, pre-race inspection. And normally those penalties are levied on Tuesdays, but this week, Keselowski, along with some of his teammates and with some of the NASCAR officials, are going to be at the White House to meet with President Barack Obama to celebrate Keselowski's Sprint Cup win from last year. So it'll be interesting to see what NASCAR does, if they choose to penalize Keselowski on the day that he's meeting with the president, or if they wait till a few days later on this week before they announce the penalties from the Texas race. One of the biggest surprises from this young Sprint Cup season is Tony Stewart, or the lack of Tony Stewart, really. Stewart's only had one top 5 finish this season so far, and it seems like he's one of the drivers who is really having a tough time getting used to this Gen 6 car. He's a 3-time Sprint Cup champion, but right now he trails in the standings by 111 points. To put that into perspective, Denny Hamlin's trailing by 124 points, and he hasn't even raced in the last 2 races. So it's become clear that if Tony Stewart doesn't right the ship, if he doesn't do something soon to get himself into victory lane, he's not even going to make the chase this year. We'll go from Texas all the way to the other side of the world to Shanghai, where Fernando Alonso won the Grand Prix. But the real story still seems to be focused on the Red Bull guys. Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber were mired into a controversy a few weeks ago when Vettel ignored team orders and passed Mark Webber to win the Grand Prix of Malaysia. Everybody knows about this, but what people don't seem to realize is Vettel seems to have no remorse over it. Initially he apologized, but before the race in Shanghai, he confided in the press that he doesn't think that Webber's that good of a teammate, and if put in the same position, he would ignore team orders again and pass his teammate to try and win another race, which has a lot of Formula One fans scratching their head and wondering what's going on over at Red Bull. Red Bull is one of the greatest Formula One teams in recent history, but not only do they seem to have 2 drivers that don't want to work together, they have 2 drivers that seem to hate one another. Moving forward to the Grand Prix in Bahrain, there's nothing like a F1 media circus to bring out the protesters, and Bahrain's no different. This is an area of the world that's seen a lot of protesting, mostly because of human rights violations. While this is one of the most beautiful venues on the F1 circuit, remember as you watch this race that there are still a lot of people that have a big problem with what's going on with the Bahraini government. But Bernie Ecclestone isn't one of them. The Formula One CEO said that he didn't think there was any reason to worry about the protesters, and he doesn't think there's any reason that this race won't be a huge success. On a final ironic note, out of Texas, there was a lot of controversy leading up to this Sprint Cup race as the National Rifle Association, in an attempt to build some goodwill with racing fans, sponsored the race. But things didn't quite go the way that they had hoped. After the Sprint Cup race, a fan took a handgun and shot himself in the head, killing himself in the infield. I just can't imagine this is the kind of PR that the NRA was looking for when they signed on to become a sponsor of a Sprint Cup race. We'll be on these stories at AutoWeekRacing.com, and I'll be back next Monday.
Catch all the latest auto enthusiast news at AutoWeek.com, in AutoWeek Magazine and iPad Edition. Talk with us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at AutoWeek USA.